everyone, and welcome back to Cabral House Call. Really excited to be here today. We have some great questions. The questions just seem to actually be getting better and better, and even maybe a little bit more detailed. But never feel bad whether your question is just strictly beginner or the most advanced of the advanced. I'm happy to answer all of those for you. And again, simply go to stevencabral.com/Ask Cabral. Completely free service, something I love doing and love seeing those questions come in each and every week. All right, today's first question on our Training Thursday is definitely a follow-up from what we talked about previously, which is essentially how to design the absolute best workout programs. That's what we talked about on the last Cabral Concept earlier today. Definitely check that out on a Training Thursday. So this question comes in from Lucy. Lucy asks, when is the best time to do cardio and how often for fat loss? So kind of a two-part question. Happy to answer both of those. So when is the best time to do cardio? Well, so kind of mixed reviews. My easy answer is always whenever you're actually willing to do it. And that's the honest truth, because so few people are doing exercise or getting the exercise that they need to do in the first place. I'm happy for some people just to do their cardio. So let's talk about this though. Let's get a little bit more detailed if you really do want to fine tune it. Even though it's kind of mixed results in terms of actual research and science-based evidence on it, I can tell you from a empirical, anecdotal, and common sense perspective that when you do cardio first thing in the morning, fasted, you're going to most likely be able to tap into body fat at a better degree or a far better degree. And the reason is this. Everything in your body works in checks and balances, and it works in what I call a little teeter-totter mechanism. If you have high blood sugar, whether you're type 1 diabetic, type 2 diabetic, or you simply just ate a lot of carbohydrates or a very high glycemic load-based meal, you're going to have enough sugar in your blood that your body is very happy to tap into that for a fuel source. And now when you do cardio, keep in mind that depending on the rate, depending on which energy system you're doing, you could actually tap into sugar or oxygen for a fuel source. So my advice to you is this. Let's keep things simple. Let's talk about we're doing, regardless whether it's sprint-based or whether it's endurance-based cardio. And you know my philosophy, endurance-based cardio, really nothing over that 3 miles unless you're training for some type of specific event. And it's this. It's do your cardio, if possible, again, if possible, first thing in the morning or at least before meals. You can also do it before lunch. That would be fine as well, or before dinner. The reason why I don't like evening cardio is because I test the hormone levels all the time in my practice, and I don't want to see that elevated nighttime cortisol. That simply means you're kind of putting your body into that adrenaline-based response, that norepinephrine-based response, and that high cortisol-based response. So it puts you in this fight or flight when you're supposed to be ramping down your day. So that's why it's not my favorite. However, some people are only able to work out after work, and I totally understand that, and that's okay. I mean, literally half of our clients come in at night, and there's no problem with that at all either. You just want to make sure it doesn't affect your sleep at night. If you're someone who can fall right to sleep, well, obviously these workouts aren't putting you into too high of a stress response, right? So you're okay. You're good to go with that. So let me just make this more concise. The best time to do cardio is whenever you're willing to do it. But if we want to fine tune it, it is when you haven't eaten for a couple hours. So let's say it's before you're fasted, ideally before you have your breakfast. Okay, but also I do like people doing their cardio after their resistance workout if you're doing that type of day. So when we talk about how often for fat loss, well, if you have the ability to do a 30-minute workout with weights or your own body weight, resistance-based, and then you do 15 to 20 minutes of interval-based sprints, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, you will get in fantastic shape doing that every other day. But we can even keep it simpler. If you want to do a 30-minute resistance workout, let's say Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you want to do cardio on the alternating days, and that could just be for 20 to 30 minutes as well, so you never have a long workout, you could do that, and that works great as well. So the bottom line is this. As humans, we are meant to be physical animals or mammals, whatever you want to call us, and we're supposed to be moving. So doing 30 minutes of exercise per day, as long as it does not exhaust the body, is absolutely fine. Our workouts at my to studios for body transformation are 45-minute workouts. We do that because we do a 5-minute warm-up, and we do about a 35-minute workout, and then we do a 10-minute either interval at the end or stretching or foam rolling, whatever's best for that client. So Lucy, I hope that answers your question, and of course, just send in a follow-up question if you do have one. But it's a really good question, really detailed. I could probably make a whole show about that as well if needed. All right, so second question is from Franklin. Really smart question as well. Should you do sit-ups or do they hurt your spine? So the old training programs used to have you putting your hands behind your head, and they used to have you kind of curling your spine up towards your knees while you're lying on the floor. You've seen those old photos from like the military sit-ups, pulling yourself all the way up. Well, those full sit-ups are not necessarily bad. It's bad when you're pulling with your neck and you're pulling your chin into your chest. But they do actually create abdominal endurance, so your ability to actually do a certain amount of sit-ups in a specific time. And I've trained FBI agents to be able to pass this test. One day I will talk about the test for FBI agents. It's a rigorous test, but a really great test to make sure or see what type of shape you are in. But let's put it another way. You do not want to overstretch your spine. So you don't want to turn it into a big half circle as you're bringing your chest up to your knees. Now, for a specific test, you might have to do that, but that's not ideal. So frankly, what I would say is this. Doing sit-ups or doing crunches, depending on how we're looking at it, as long as your abdominal muscles, obliques, and the lower back, all those core muscles are engaged, it's not a bad exercise. Because keep in mind, I am not a proponent of doing 100 sit-ups per set. That simply just means that you don't have enough tension on your abs in the first place, and most likely that can be damaging. But if we're talking about 12 to 20 repetitions for doing crunches or sit-ups, I don't see an issue with that. Never have, and I've been doing this now for 20 years. And here's the reason why. The studies that they've showed where they've used pigs or things like that to actually break the spines, which I know is a severe example, there's no abdominal flexion and there's no tension on the way down either. These pigs, unfortunately, are no longer alive and they're doing these tests to that. And so that's not real world, right? So what we're doing is we're actually flexing the abdominal muscles. They're supporting this thing called the transverse abdominis. They're supporting the spine and they're pulling us up and then they're slowly lowering us. So truly, the way that you would hurt yourself doing a sit-up is if you did them too quickly and you were not fully engaged and you didn't decelerate yourself back to the ground. And I will leave you with one last little caveat to this, is that if you are doing high reps, just like anything, it's not going to be a good idea, but also that you do not want to curl your spine. You do not want it to look like that half circle. You want to keep it engaged. And we can hopefully link up some good examples of that as well. So Franklin, I do hope that answers your question. And you always want to use good form when doing any abdominal crunches or sit-ups in your program. Do keep in mind though, when you're lying in your bed and you have to sit up, if you can't sit up without using your hands, I actually believe that you do not have good functional abdominal strength. So I'm not a proponent of never doing any crunches or sit-ups because it is a functional based movement. Anyone who tells you otherwise, ask them to sit up off of a table without using their hands. All right. Jeremy is up for our last question of the day, and he says, do you recommend plyometric training? All right, so for those people who don't know what plyometric training is, it is basically a form of dynamic, or one might even say ballistic type training, where the body is typically leaving the ground, such as in jump squats, plyometric push-ups, where you're actually doing a push-up and your hands are leaving the ground, and sometimes your hands and feet at the same time. Or box jumps, another great example of plyometric training where you're jumping into the air onto boxes and then landing nice and softly in a squat. I love that exercise. It's a really great one. So here's the thing, Jeremy. There is never an all-for-one answer. Do I recommend plyometric training? Absolutely not for beginners, and absolutely not for anyone that is more than 20 to 30 pounds away from their goal weight. Why? Because when you do plyometric training, you are landing with greater than 2 times your own body weight. So think about it. If you weigh 150 pounds, you're landing with the force of over 300 pounds. Now, again, there are all sorts of different ratios on this based on the depth that you jumped from. So we'll put it this way. You're landing at a far greater force than your own body weight. And if you're already overweight, over your ideal weight, you're going to be landing with too much weight. So what I would say is this. Never all for one. I love plyometric training. I use it with my athletes. I use it with people who are neurologically adapted to that exercise, meaning like they can do it with good control. I'm not worried about their safety. And of course, I work up to it. So if I do box jumps, I start with a 6-inch and then I go to 12 and then 18 and then 24 and I just work up from there. And whenever I see their form starting to fail, I stop. One more important thing about plyometric training is that you should always keep the reps low. So when I studied for my National Strength and Conditioning Association, CSCS, I had to make sure the reps were typically greater than less than 60 to 80 repetitions per workout for plyometric training. Jeremy, I do hope this answers your question. For more advanced clients, if you are a personal trainer, you are absolutely welcome to do them as long as the client can handle it. And for the less advanced client, give them something to look forward to. They don't need to be doing it in their first few weeks or even 12 weeks or 16 weeks of training. Thank you again for joining me on the Cabral House Call. I'll be back real soon answering more of your questions. As a thank you for tuning in today, I wanted to share with you the number one system my private clients in Boston and now all over the United States are using to lose weight, decrease bloating, improve digestion, eliminate skin issues, and increase their energy all day long. It's called the Cabral Detox, and without going into all the details right now, simply go to drcabraldetox.com and you can find out how my proven, simple 7-day system can help you lose weight and feel great. There's no hype, there's no marketing, and best of all, it's guaranteed or your money back. And as a thank you for being a listener of the Cabral Concept, I'd like to offer you $10 off your next 7, 14, or 21-day Dr. Cabral Detox purchase in the month of March. Simply enter the savings code MARCH10, all in lowercase, one word, when checking out. Thank you again for tuning in, and I look forward to hearing your success story soon.